Welcome to Hadassah on Call, New Frontiers in Medicine. I'm your host, Maayan Hoffman. Today, we are honored to be joined by Gidon Melmad, the Executive Director of the Israel Offices of Hadassah, the Women's Zionist Organization of America. Gidon has served in Israel's nonprofit and philanthropic sectors for more than 2 decades. Since July 2025, he has led Hadassah's 26-person team in Israel, working hand in glove with the leadership of the Hadassah Medical Organization, bringing visionary strategy and global outreach to one of Israel's leading medical centers. Today, against the backdrop of a Jerusalem hospital system that has been tested in unprecedented ways, we'll explore how Hadassah continues to advance healing, teaching, and research, even in conflict. We'll talk about staff serving in the reserves, caring for wounded family members, and yet building breakthroughs in oncology, neurology, artificial intelligence, surgical robots, organoid research, and more. Whether you're an American Jew or Christian living abroad, a donor, or someone who cares deeply about the health of the State of Israel, this episode promises to give you behind-the-scenes insight into one of Israel's medical powerhouses and show how Zionist values and global collaboration meet on a Jerusalem hospital rooftop. So, welcome, Gidon.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, before we get on to the developments that are taking place at Hadassah Medical Organization, can you explain a bit about the role of the Hadassah offices in Israel?
Absolutely. The Hadassah offices in Israel were established as the Israeli presence, really, of Hadassah, the Women's Zionist Organization of America, here in Israel. Essentially, we're the eyes and ears of HWZOA. We liaise on behalf of Hadassah. We have a wonderful team here, a really amazing team in PR and communication, in development, all visits and events really that take place here, both at the hospitals and also the youth villages, are kind of facilitated, coordinated, and planned in conjunction with our colleagues in the States and internationally. And really, we're the kind of bridge in many respects when information, there are hundreds of projects really that take place at the hospital at the same time, from research to development of capital projects, etc. We conduct some of the kind of preliminary due diligence that's required for us to be able to know that whatever we present for philanthropic support has kind of been vetted. There's a very organized structure here to make sure that the information is accurate, that the timeline is correct, etc. Some of it is fairly technical, but we are really the liaisons on all kind of fronts with the hospitals and the youth villages for Hadassah.
And so before we talk about what's going on now or what's going to be going on in the future, I think it's important to look back at the last couple of years since October 7th, 2023 and the Hamas massacre. Tell me a little bit about how the hospital changed over these last 2 years.
October 7th really changed everything. On the night of October 7th, that night, and beginning to understand the magnitude of what was emerging from Gaza, management sat down at 10 p.m. This is Motzei Shabbat, after the festival Simchat Torah, and discussed what should be focused on, what should the hospital focus on. And the understanding was very, very clearly that Hamas, for us here in Jerusalem, was not an imminent threat. It was in other areas at that time, but that if and when things develop with Hezbollah and Iran, it's going to be an entirely different story, because Hezbollah had a few hundreds of thousands of rockets, missiles, some of them very, very accurate. And the assumption, the understanding was that they would aim for civil infrastructure, and particularly hospitals as well. Unfortunately, we saw that did happen with Iran. And so the first decision that was taken was really to establish an underground emergency hospital in the Gidon Rehabilitation Center, when that center was a construction site. Right. Entirely gravel. The teams, technicians, really everyone working with the municipality, and around the clock, 24/7, within essentially 2 weeks, the emergency hospital was set in place. Mm-hmm. And the second priority after that was establishing a rehabilitation center, having the only comprehensive rehabilitation center in the city of Jerusalem with 38 beds and thousands of people who were going to need rehabilitation. We focused on opening the rehabilitation center. Now, today, the 2 years of very intense fighting and war that we have known, looking back, are hopefully behind us. There's a very significant kind of fragility to the ceasefire at the moment. But for so many, the journey of recovery and healing has only really just begun.
So I want to break this down just a little bit, because I mean, the hospital has been functioning under fire, even if things are calming down now, for these 2 years. People have been, doctors and medical staff have been in reserves. Spouses have been in reserves. You know, you've had a lot of people come with very acute injuries that you might have seen them before, but not to the number or the extent. So how does a hospital function in that capacity?
You know, I think your question touches upon the spirit of Hadassah, really. You know, Henrietta Zold came here over 112 years ago, 1909, 1912, established Hadassah. She saw the need. She saw there was no medical infrastructure in this land. Here we are today, over 300 physicians and nurses in different fields of combat, elite units and others, and on reserve. And part of the time, you know, some of us have kind of had the opportunity recently in the States to meet one of our senior physicians and leaders really in intensive care, that 3 weeks a month is here at the hospital in intensive care, and 1 week a month is literally hanging off a helicopter because he's in one of the elite units that evacuates from the forefront. So we've had that presence during the war, and essentially seen something that in my mind is incredible, that we've with all those people being in reserve. You know, what does that mean for the staff? And some of the departments have seen a considerable amount of staff that was not present, and they managed nonetheless. And we're seeing now, thankfully, an additional, you know, it's thankfully, but it's also a challenge, an additional increase in the activity of the hospital. We're now at 1.2 million patients annually, really, for a hospital that, and that's a significant increase over from last year. So I say the spirit of Hadassah because despite it all, we see both the continuous, ongoing activity and operations, whether, you know, surgery and research, and obviously inpatient. But we also see things coming out of Hadassah that I think we're all very proud of in the realm of innovation and research.
And we'll definitely want to get to that, because there are so many groundbreaking things going on here. Just to keep up with the October 7th just a little bit more and continue on that path, I was under the impression that around 20 different staff members lost like immediate relatives during the fighting, and many of them had wounded immediate relatives that they even potentially had to treat here at the hospital. So how has Hadassah Medical Organization sort of coalesced during this difficult period?
Right. You know, that is really the story of Israel in many respects. All of us know someone who's either at the forefront of fighting, and unfortunately, know people who have fallen, either family friends, or relatives. And again, the spirit of Hadassah for so many who have tragically lost first degree relatives, and continuing to show up, continuing to do what it takes to continue the healing, which is the mission of all of us really at Hadassah.
Sure. Now I'm going to get to the part that you're waiting for, all of the innovation, because I know that we're itching to talk about that. And there have been some incredible examples of, using new technologies, new ways of healing, teaching throughout this period of time and going into what we think will be the future. Maybe talk about some of the work that you've seen going on, the pioneering work. Professor Michal Lotem, Polina Stepensky, Shai Rosenberg here at the hospital.
Yeah, so you touch upon three of the leaders, I would say global leaders in cancer treatment and research. Professor Michal Lotem is really heads the Hadassah Cancer Research Institute. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to take a step back, really, because despite the last 2 years, I say we continue to see the innovation. And just to give you one example, the person who really discovered the first algorithm that identifies genetic mutations that cause cancer, a specific genetic mutation, Professor Shai Rosenberg, also heads computational cancer treatment and research at Hadassah. And he's also developed a very innovative program and teaches in the Segol program for medical students, because the future of medicine, in a great degree, is going to be a combination of working with AI, working with the innovation and the technology, and maintaining humanity. And one of the physicians I recently talked to was saying that when she teaches students, she always teaches them that there's the most to discover about the patient when they're checking their heartbeats and listening to their heart. Now, this could be done through an app, but she won't forgo the opportunity, because that is when she can ask, how have you been sleeping? And that's when she'll discover many things about the illness that are vital for the treatment. Coming back to the innovation, we have recently established a database of information of tens of thousands of patients going back to the 70s. So when we talk about computer analysis, artificial intelligence, and mining that information for understanding of what may lead to a better treatment for a patient, that is an immense database that is at the hands of our physicians in cancer treatment, for example, that is unique in Israel. It's very, very special to be able to look at the symptoms of one patient and compare not to, say, hundreds of patients that the physician has recently or at some point come across or read about, but to thousands that may be informing in terms of understanding what treatment they should receive. We have recently embarked on a journey together with Roche Pharmaceuticals, a very large pharmaceutical company that is aimed at really screening every cancer patient. So we're creating and we're really increasing the database of patients that we have the genetic screening, taking into consideration the artificial intelligence part of our discussion that we just had in terms of the algorithm, etc. Now the patients can determine earlier on what may be the best treatment for a patient based on their genetic screening and based on the understanding that they have specific mutations that could lead to cancer that perhaps hasn't fully developed yet.
It's groundbreaking. I mean, and it's just one example. As you said, the cancer department is only one example of what's going on here at Hadassah. I know we think about neurology as well. There are some incredible physician scientists that are leading the way in research of the brain, and especially when it comes to the threat of dementia, which, in other discussions we've had, we've talked a lot about how that is really among the top threats in the coming decades, both to our economy and also to our health. So tell me a little bit about that research.
There's a fascinating research that is taking place under several leading researchers. One of them, Professor Tamir Ben-Chor, who chairs the division of brain sciences, that has found that a vaccine called BCG that we know is safe, that is given to prevent tuberculosis actually has shown preliminary results in decreasing the risk of dementia. So you're looking at at really a project that is it's often the research goes from bench to bedside, and we're looking at a project that is there's already a validated potential substance that can be provided that we know is safe. So that is a very exciting research project in the field of neurology. And we also have a continuous excitement about the field of organoids and the overlap of that field with various areas of medicine, whether it's cystic fibrosis or cancer treatment. We have, for example, one project that looks at cancers that very often, unfortunately, after radiation, the radiation kills the cancer cells, and we find that there are some cells that are not killed by radiation. Somehow they're resistant. By creating a miniature version of an organ that has cancer that is identical to the patient's organ in the lab, which that is essentially the magic of organoids, our scientists and researchers are able to model and create the organ, the cancerous organ, to radiate it, and then to test several drugs on those cells that have not been destroyed in the radiation process. And we're already beginning to see some very exciting results in that project as well.
And if I remember correctly, Hadassah actually houses Israel's first organoid bank.
Hadassah was privileged to partner with Professor Hans Klevels, who is the Dutch, really the inventor of this technology, in order to establish the first organoid center and organoid bank in Israel. And I think that it's important also to underscore that we are, that the organoid center here is a platform, just like the Wall Institute for Translational Medicine that was established here at Hadassah in Kerem in 2016. It's a platform that is seeing a lot of interest from outside Hadassah as well. And we are also privileged to have our researchers collaborate with leading scientists, both here from within Israel and worldwide, whether it's Memorial Sloan Kettering, Cedars-Sinai, or other medical centers.
So I'm going to jump now to yet another innovative topic, which is surgical robots. Tell me how robots are being used now in surgery at Hadassah. And I know we've talked about robots in the past, but there seems to be a very big step toward even increased innovation. So what does that look like?
So Hadassah Medical Organization has been designated by leading really a global company, Medtronic, as a testing site for some of its robots. That means we get to actually be the first in implementing some of the robotic surgeries here. And if we zoom out for a moment, we're looking at a device that essentially enables and in some way guarantees precision in surgery, and where every millimeter counts.
Of course.
Whether a physician's surgeon is whether we're talking about cardiac surgery, neurosurgery, or orthopedics, this really enables us to do things more accurately and also in many respects and often faster. So I would say that the introduction of robotics into surgery generally is a great blessing for us to be able to do here at Hadassah as well. We're also seeing the first implementation of what is referred to as augmented reality, which means that we're all familiar with those goggles that are like virtual reality. You're seeing something else, like a cartoon type of reality around you. Augmented reality means that you're looking through the goggles at what's in the room around you, and embedded in that picture, you're moving around, you're seeing exactly what you'd see if you hadn't put on the goggles, but embedded or augmented into that picture is essentially the additional detail that is guiding the surgeon through surgery. So they will see, for example, specific nerves or specific veins or specific aspects highlighted in different colors because that is what kind of guides them and navigates them. Again, an amazing tool that is very exciting because it means we're conducting a greater degree of accuracy in our surgery, in our surgeries and operations. And I will say that we're also grateful to have the infrastructure made possible through the support of our donors. In the Sarah Witzman Davidson Hospital Tower, our entire lower level 4 complex of 13 ORs, and now we're really embarking on the process of raising the necessary funds to add 6 more ORs. We already have the core and shell ready when established and opened in 2012. One of the outcomes of the war, and our understanding, especially during October 7th, is that we need the capacity, the added capacity. And considering Jerusalem as a fastest growing population in Israel, generally it's something that we look forward to adding as a service to the people of Jerusalem and beyond.
And it sounds like those surgical robots are really going to be saving not only time so more patients can be treated, but also the accuracy of relieving that human error, as you said. So it's really fascinating. Now we're gonna run out of time soon, so I want to jump to the last question, which is, of course, to highlight the fact that Newsweek once again named Hadassah as a global leader in both cardiology and oncology, and also as one of the world's best and smartest hospitals. So what does that mean to you, to your team, as the representatives in Israel of the Hadassah Women's Zionist Organization of America?
You know, I think that we're all honored by this. It's something that we see here day in and day out. And we, in just hearing from people that I happened to bump into someone a couple of days ago in Tel Aviv, that was treated in another medical center for a rare hematological cancer. And he was treated there, and I won't say they gave up on him, but it was a very difficult situation. And he somehow managed to find his way to Hadassah, and he is wonderfully healthy. And so many of these, the level of excellence, I think this is also a defining feature of, some of the Shared Institute of Oncology, for example, was built in the 70s, and you walk and you understand that the infrastructure needs to be redone. And alongside that, you have this gap. The level of excellence is so high, the innovation, the awards that our researchers in oncology and other areas are receiving from the Israel Science Foundation, for example, which is the equivalent of the NIH in the United States, receiving over 50% of those grants as an indication of the level of excellence. I think it's something that, being here, we all kind of understand. It's very nice to have that recognition. And I think it's just another kind of reflection of what is going on here, and some of the magic that is really a lot of hard work on account of both the treatment that our patients receive here and the research that is pursued here.
Well, Hadassah is definitely a magical place. Gidon Melmad, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.